LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, Leo Messi. 3 elite athletes that are still right at the top of their game late into their 30s. How are they doing it? Well, it's not their genetics or their workout routine. Think about it. All elite athletes have top-tier genetics and access to the best workout equipment and trainers. So what is it? Today I'm going to reveal the 3 most underrated protocols that elite world-class athletes like these guys use in their day-to-day life that keeps them at the top of the food chain, performing at their best, staying lean year-round, and winning. These 3 protocols make up what I like to call the BB system. A system that's so stupidly simple and easy to follow that anybody can copy it. I've tested these protocols and this system myself, and I am living proof that this works. I'm 36 years old, but regularly get told that I look 25. I can keep up with guys younger than me. I'm in the best shape of my life right now. My mental health has never been stronger, and I'm the most productive I've ever been. So I know for a fact that incorporating these protocols works. In fact, not only do they work, but I'd even go as far as to say that they reverse your age. And that's why I like to call the system the BB system. And the BB is short for Benjamin Button. The biggest thing that these athletes do that separates them from their competition and us mere mortals is that they put at least 50% of their focus into their recovery. But I'm not just talking about taking rest days or stretching after a workout. I'm talking about 3 key protocols so that regardless of your age, and even if you're not a professional athlete, you'll be able to perform at your best, feel amazing, live a longer, healthier life, and stay lean all year. First up, sleep. I like to think that health has 3 main pillars: your sleep, your nutrition, and your movement. And I used to think that those pillars were of equal importance. But now, more so than ever, I am completely 100% convinced that sleep is by far and away the most important pillar when it comes to your health. LeBron famously talks about how he makes it a non-negotiable that he gets at least 9, if not 10 hours of sleep a night. These athletes prioritize their sleep so that their bodies and their minds are ready to go. It helps to down-regulate the sympathetic part of their nervous system and up-regulate the parasympathetic part of their nervous system. The sympathetic part of your nervous system is linked with fight or flight, whereas the parasympathetic part of your nervous system is linked with rest and recovery. When you're in fight or flight, you're thinking very emotionally and irrationally, whereas when you're in parasympathetic, you've got a clear mind, you're able to think logically. The other amazing thing that sleep does, aside from helping our bodies and brains to recover, is that it acts like a reset switch for our hormones. And that's very important because it means that these athletes aren't waking up hungry, they're not waking up stressed, they're waking up clear-headed and able to think logically. There's 3 elements of your sleep which you need to get right: quantity, the quality, and the regularity. Quantity is the most obvious element, but it's probably the one that people shirk the most. In this day and age, we're more distracted than ever. And whether you're doom scrolling social media on your phone or binge watching the latest Netflix series, there's always a reason to stay up later now. There's absolutely no proof in this, but I'm also a firm believer that us adults like to stay up later because we're pushing back against our inner child. When we were kids, we were all given bedtimes. We were told that we had to go to bed at a certain time, even though we were probably at our most energetic. Now we're adults and there's no one telling us to go to bed. So we purposely stay up as late as we want, later than we should do, self-sabotaging. Most people would see an amazing and transformative shift in their health and lifestyle if they just nailed the quantity of sleep that they're getting. All of the medical and sleep experts recommend you get anything from 7 to 9 hours. And the truth is, we're all different. There are even some people, although it's only estimated to be about 4% of the population, who can operate well on less than 7 hours. But again, it's only 4%. You're probably not in that 4%. So don't try and wear it as a badge of honor and sleep 5 hours a night. Because like I said, it's just a form of self-sabotage. The only person you're hurting is you. But I appreciate that we're all busier than we ever have been. So if you can only squeeze in 7 hours of sleep a night, but you're still waking up tired, try adding just an extra 15 minutes a night. Over the course of a week, that's nearly an extra 2 hours sleep. That'll stack up and make a huge difference in the long term. And remember, the time you spend in bed is not the time that you've spent asleep. So if you're aiming to sleep a minimum of 7 hours a night, that means you need to spend at least 7.5 7.5, if not 8 hours in bed. And this is for two reasons. Firstly, because nobody gets into bed and falls asleep straight away. And secondly, even though you're not remembering it, you're probably waking up several times in the night. The next thing you want to focus on is your sleep quality, because it's all well and good getting 7 hours a night, but if the quality of your sleep is terrible, it doesn't count for much. There's two things that you can do which are going to improve the quality of your sleep. Firstly is to focus on your sleep environment. The obvious things that you want to do here, but again, not that many people focus on, are to make sure that your room is as dark as possible, as cold as possible, and as quiet as possible. The easiest way to fix the darkness is to either buy blackout blinds or a good eye mask. If you live in a loud neighborhood like a big city, then having lived in London for 13 years, I can appreciate it's difficult to make your bedroom silent. So the best thing that you can do, and what I did, is invest in a good set of earplugs. You'll probably have to go through 3 or 4 at first to find the ones that fit your ears best, but it's worthwhile doing, because once you find the right pair, you're going to sleep so much better. Last but not least, to make your room cold, you can spend less than £50 or less than $50 and get yourself a good fan from Amazon. Or if you want to go all out, invest in some air conditioning. Another top tip for you, which I've actually only just reintroduced, is to sleep under weight. But I don't mean having another human sleep on top of you. This might sound really obvious to some people, and depending on where you are in the world, you might already be doing it. But it's worth me saying because it's been transformative for me, and it's so simple. I live in southern Spain, and if you're not familiar with southern Spain, it's incredibly hot here in the summer. I'm talking upwards of 35 degrees Celsius at night. You're already pretty warm when you go to bed, so the last thing you'd think you'd want is to sleep under a duvet. And I'll be honest, I don't know the science to this, but up until about a week ago, I was just sleeping with a sheet, and I found myself waking up loads in the night. And then last weekend, I bought myself a thin duvet. Not only am I sleeping so much better now that I'm sleeping under some weight again, but somehow I'm actually cooler as well. But that leads me nicely into the next part of how you can improve your sleep environment, and that's to invest in it. Whether it is a fan, earplugs, blackout blinds, or face masks, invest in your environment. Those 4 things are all relatively low cost. But if you really want to optimize your sleep, then I'd recommend you invest in a great bed frame, mattress, pillows, and bedding. Altogether, that might cost you £1,000 or $1,000. But most, if not all of that stuff is going to last you 5 years. And if you do the math on that, that investment comes out to less than $1 a night. And given the likelihood that it's going to dramatically improve the quality of your sleep, I'd say it's well worth the investment. Combined with the fact that, as I said earlier, sleep is the most important pillar and the cornerstone to your health, I'd say that's a worthwhile investment. Aside from improving your sleep environment, the second thing that you can do to improve your sleep quality is to have a solid wind down routine. You want to shift your mindset on sleep. Don't see it as the last thing you do each day. See it as the start of your next day. And a good wind down routine is going to dramatically improve the quality of your sleep. And if you think about it, if you improve the quality of your sleep, you're improving your sleep efficiency. Because now, rather than needing 8 or 9 hours to feel rested, you can get a high quality sleep and only need to be asleep for 7 hours. The best, simplest, and most practical wind down routine that I'm aware of is called the 3-2-1 rule. And this is where you stop eating 3 hours before you go to bed, you stop drinking 2 hours before you go to bed, and you try to come off your phones, your screens, your laptops, your computers an hour before bed. Let me quickly explain each of those. Eating and digestion is a metabolic process. A metabolic process is any process that raises your heart rate. Digestion raises your heart rate because it requires calories. Your body is having to work to digest that food. And as a result, it raises your heart rate, which goes against the fact that when you want to go to sleep, you want your heart rate to be at a resting level. So if you finish eating 3 hours before you go to bed, your body will have completed the most arduous part of the digestion process. Stopping drinking 2 hours before you go to bed is very straightforward. It's just to prevent your sleep from getting disrupted because you wake up in the night to go to the toilet. And coming off your screens, whether it be your phone, your laptop, or your TV an hour before bed, is because these devices emit blue light, which blocks the production of melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. Now listen, I appreciate that last one is the hardest, but what I like to do is either listen to a podcast in bed or read a book. And I'll be really honest, I am not sticking to that one every single day. But even if you can try and do it 3 or 4 nights a week, you will notice a huge shift in the quality of your sleep. Last but certainly not least, we want to focus on the regularity of your sleep. Some of the latest emerging sleep science is showing that sleep regularity is just as important for your circadian rhythm as your sleep quantity and quality. And the easiest way to stay on top of this is to try to go to bed and wake up at the same time every night, or at least within 30 minutes of each other. If you're really struggling with sleep, the last thing I would say about it is to try and shift your mindset around sleep. If you're anything like me, sleep is a little bit boring. It kind of gets in the way. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but I wish I didn't have to do it. And because of that, I've realized that it's led to me compromising my sleep, justifying to myself that I could spend less time in bed. But sleep's amazing. It gets you out of a vicious cycle and into a virtuous one. It helps you to build momentum. And getting into a virtuous cycle, building momentum, is gonna help you get in better shape, feel less hungry, perform better, be happier, make more money, have better relationships, and it's even gonna make you better looking. The second protocol that these elite athletes follow is all about their nutrition. They use their nutrition to fuel their performance and optimize their recovery. And you can too. You might not be able to afford the best ingredient or have a world-class chef prepare your meals. Neither can I. But those luxuries make 1% of the difference, because it's the principles that matter the most. These guys treat their body like a temple. They understand the link between their food and their mind and their gut and their sleep and their recovery. None of them are following restrictive diets, whether that's vegan, keto, carnivore, or anything like that. It's all about following simple principles, doing them well, and doing them consistently. So what are those simple principles? Well, first and foremost, these athletes are eating a specific number of calories and hitting a precise macronutrient mix. Assuming these athletes have already gotten as lean as they want to, they're going to be eating at what we call their maintenance calorie level, which is the number of calories that they need to maintain their current weight and body fat percentage. But if you're not as lean as you want to be right now, then you need to put yourself in a calorie deficit where you eat below your maintenance level. And if you want me to help you calculate your maintenance calories and give you a personalized calorie target, you can click the first link in the description of this video and use my completely free calorie calculator. I'll send you over my personalized recommendations for you and take the time to explain all your numbers in detail. As well as eating a precise number of calories around their maintenance level, these guys are following a precise macronutrient mix. Now, the number of grams of protein, carbs, and fats that they have will depend on what their maintenance calorie number is. But if we think about it in the context of percentages, most of these elite athletes will get 20 to 30% of their food from protein, 40 to 60% from carbs, and 20 to 30% from their fat. They are eating a balanced, omnivorous diet with plenty of plant-based product and animal product. And this is because all three of the macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fat, play a vital role when it comes to optimizing your health. They're also eating at the right time. They're spreading their calorie and, just as important, their protein intake out throughout the day. And as I've already said, they're trying to stop eating a couple of hours before they go to sleep. They're also eating a high protein diet. Getting 20 to 30% of your calories from protein might not sound like much, but it will definitely be over 100 grams of protein a day and can easily stack up to nearly 200. Here's an easy working example for you to show you what I mean. If I was on just 2,000 calories a day, and by the way, most of these elite athletes are on way more than that because they're so active, and I was to get 30% of my calories from protein, that would add up to 150 grams of protein a day. So even though the percentage figure might not sound that high, in terms of grams, it's plenty. And that's because there are just 4 calories per gram of protein. The main reason that they're prioritizing a high protein diet is because it provides them with the amino acids that they need to repair the micro tears in the muscles that happen during exercise. Protein also helps with the healthy function of their immune system. These athletes do not want to spend any time sick. Protein also satiates them and gives them longer lasting energy, which means they're less likely to reach for the highly palatable sugary snacks, and that is going to help them to sleep better. And if you're on a high protein diet, it's also far more likely that you're going to have a lot less inflammation in your gut. The next thing that these elite athletes are doing when it comes to their nutrition is making sure that they are staying well hydrated. They are drinking a lot of water. Most people don't realize just how sensitive our brains are to dehydration, but if you become just 1 to 2% dehydrated, your brain starts to switch off non-essential processes in your body. And what that looks like in the real world is that you become lethargic. And when you're lethargic, you're lazy. And when you're lazy, you're far less likely to get up, go out and do stuff. You don't feel as driven. And drive is one of the most important things for these elite athletes. So think of water as a secondary energy system. The other amazing thing that water does is it satiates you. It helps you to stay on track with your calories. And it does this because, just like protein, it physically fills your stomach and it expands the walls of your stomach, which sends signals to your brain that you are full. What water also does is that it's indirectly involved with the oxidation of cells. But it's not just about the quantity of the calories that these guys are eating. They are also very focused on the quality. When it comes to protein, they realize that the best sources of protein are what we call complete proteins. And these proteins, lean meats, dairy, fish, and eggs, all come from animals. They contain all 9 of the essential amino acids that you cannot naturally synthesize in your body. You have to get them through diet. But aside from high quality protein, they're also very wary of what they put in their mouth. They're not eating any junk food and very limited amounts of processed food. As I said, they recognize that their body is a temple. They are paid a lot of money to perform at their best. It's their responsibility to look after their body. But just because you're not paid as an athlete, it doesn't mean it's any less a responsibility of you to look after your body. So I get it. Pizzas and burgers and all of this other stuff is delicious. And of course, it's fine to have it from time to time. But most people, particularly in the Western world, are eating this stuff day to day. And once you get used to eating it day to day, you don't realize how much harm it's doing to you because you're just used to feeling like that. But if you cut out junk food and processed food for just 14 days, trust me, you are going to feel like a new man. And this is because junk food and processed food can be seriously detrimental to your gut health. It causes a lot of inflammation, it wrecks your gut microbiome, it makes it harder for you to go to the toilet, making you more constipated, and all of that combined is going to make you more lethargic and more miserable. What do I mean by that? Well, neuroscientists have discovered that 90 to 95% of your serotonin, which is your feel-good, happy hormone, is actually produced in your gut. Now, as human beings, we all have different levels of serotonin that we're capable of producing. But you could have someone who's got the ability to produce an incredible amount of serotonin with terrible gut health versus someone who's only got the ability to produce an average amount of serotonin but has amazing gut health. This person over here is going to be able to produce more serotonin. So if you look after your gut health, you'll be able to produce more serotonin and be happier. We've already covered 2 of the 3 great ways that you can do this. Number 1, eat a high protein diet. Number 2, drink a lot of water. And number 3 is to try to get at least 20, if not 30 grams of fiber into your diet every day. The other thing that these guys are incredibly conscious of, particularly during their playing seasons, is how much alcohol they're having. Most of them realize nowadays that to perform at the top level, they can't afford to have any alcohol. Alcohol destroys your sleep quality. But I'm not just talking for one night. Particularly as you get into your 30s and even your 40s, that's going to have a detrimental effect on your sleep for 2, if not 3 nights. The other huge issue with alcohol is the damaging effect that it has on your gut health, which we've just discussed the importance of. And lastly, these guys are taking their supplements. I've saved that one to last on purpose, because it might sound like the shiniest or the sexiest, but genuinely it's the one that makes the least bit difference. Yes, if you want to perform at your best, you would take a basic stack of supplements. Vitamin D, creatine, omega-3s, and a multivitamin are the 4 that I recommend to all of my clients, whether they're a man or a woman, whether they're 18 or 80 years old. But if you're not getting the other simple principles that we've just spoken about right, the supplements that you take isn't going to matter. The third and final protocol that these athletes focus on to perform at their best and stay lean year round is all around their mindset. They understand the power of flow. They want to get into and then protect an abundant, virtuous mindset. And they do this in a few ways. First of all, every single one of them practices mindfulness, whether it's journaling, meditation, visualization, gratitude, or breath work. It doesn't matter which. It could be a combination of some of these, it could be one of them, it could be all of them. But they have done the work and they know which one or which ones help them to get into that flow state. They also recognize that if they have a purpose and if they're on a mission, that their brain and their body are in sync. And this might sound a little bit hooey, a little bit airy-fairy, but it's also the reason that the most successful people never get sick. And it's how some people are able to defy the odds and do things that we can't understand possible. The most recent example of this has been the Olympics. We've seen multiple athletes win Olympic medals whilst they had the C virus, which I'm still not allowed to name by name on YouTube. But millions, if not billions of people are sitting there in front of their TV thinking, how the heck has this guy just won an Olympic medal when he's got that virus? Well, it's because he or she has a purpose and because they're on a mission. Their brain and their bodies are in sync. Your brain protects your body when it's on a mission. And what that looks like in reality is that it upregulates your sympathetic nervous system linked with fight or flight and downregulates your parasympathetic nervous system linked with rest and recovery. It recognizes that you were at war and now is not the time to relax. I touched on it earlier, but the other important thing that these elite athletes understand and recognize is the power and the value of momentum. If you could bottle and sell momentum, I am convinced that you would be a trillionaire. You know what it's like when you just get into a bit of a rhythm. You've been going to the gym, you've been eating well, you've been sleeping better for 3 or 4 days, and you just start to get into that flow state. Your momentum starts to build, and everything that you're doing, all the healthy habits, they just feel easier. Actually, better than that, you want to do them. They don't feel like work. That's the power of momentum. These guys have been around the block. They've experienced it enough times to know and understand the power of it. Linked closely with purpose and mission, these guys also understand the importance of drive. Us mere mortals assume that they must be motivated all the time, but they're not. They've got purpose, they're on a mission, and they're driven. They have big goals, not little small ones, and they do not allow negativity to even creep into their mindset. They understand just how destructive it can be. And lastly, when it comes to their mindset, these elite athletes are selfish. That might surprise you because people instinctively don't want to be selfish. But being selfish is actually doing a service to other people. Because when you're selfish, as long as it's in the right way, of course, for constructive purposes, you become the best version of you because you're focused on you. And once you become the best version of you, you become a leader, you become the example. It gives you the ability to serve others better. It's a little bit like what they say to do if a plane is crashing. God forbid this ever happens to you, but what do they say? Make sure you fit your own life jacket before you fit someone else's, because you're no good to them if you're dead. So those are the 3 protocols that make up the Benjamin Button system that enable them to stay at the top of their game and stay lean all year round. But what ties all of this together, this whole system and all 3 of those protocols, is one thing. The most important element is for you to be consistent with all of this. If you go from 0 to 100 and do all of this for 3 days, but then stop dead, nothing is going to change. So if you are starting from scratch, I'd recommend you first focus on building the foundation and then stack these habits one after the other. Don't try and implement all of them on day 1. Start with the basics and build from there. These elite athletes are able to stay consistent with this stuff because of their mindset, because of that purpose, that drive, that energy, that discipline, because of the momentum that they've got, because of the big goals that they've set themselves. The very first thing that I recommend you do is figure out why you want to do what you want to do. Have a clear, deep-rooted, intrinsic purpose and driver. Start there, build the foundations, and stack the habits from there. I really hope you enjoyed this video, but more importantly, I hope you found it useful. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you could show your support by smashing the thumbs up button to like the video. Leave a comment, let me know where you're gonna start with this stuff. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the next one. Until then, bye.